I met my girlfriend while in college. We got serious but struggled long distance. I feel conflicted about our future and differences. This message is going to be lengthy. First, I want to emphasize that every relationship is unique. I have my boundaries in my relationship, and everyone else has theirs, which do not need to align. If there are certain things in your relationship that you find acceptable but I do not, that's perfectly understandable. It's your relationship, not mine. Personally, I lean towards a more conservative viewpoint, but I am not suggesting that everyone should feel the same way or that all relationships should mirror mine. I, 25 years old, male, met my girlfriend, 24 years old, female, 3 years ago. We both attended the same university. She is from the country where that university is located, while I hail from a different country. Although I am a year older than her, she was 2 years ahead in her studies because I began university years after finishing high school. I had previously enrolled at another university. When I first met her, she was in her final year, while I was in my second year, and this occurred at the start of the academic year. Upon first seeing her, I thought she was stunning, so I inquired about her and eventually reached out to her on Instagram. At that point, neither of us was looking for something serious. We primarily hung out, kissed, and texted frequently. However, we began to develop feelings for one another. She did not fit the mold of the type of girl I envisioned for a relationship. She appeared cute and innocent, which contributed to my strong attraction, but the reality was different. She dressed in a manner that I found too revealing, and she enjoyed partying. Initially, I dismissed my concerns because I wasn't planning to pursue a serious relationship with her. It was supposed to be just fun. However, about a month into our time together, she expressed that she liked me, and I reciprocated those feelings. As we were both preparing for spring break, she wanted to clarify our status regarding exclusivity to avoid misunderstandings during the trip. We agreed to be exclusive, although we did not officially label it as a relationship yet. I genuinely believed I could accept her clothing choices and nightlife, telling myself it was normal in today's world. Ultimately, I realized I could not accept these aspects of her lifestyle, but I will elaborate on that later. By mid to late April, she informed me that she would be embarking on a 3-month internship overseas, in Europe, and asked me to consider whether I wanted to continue our relationship despite her departure. I affirmed that I did, and she was pleased. About a month following that discussion, I asked her to be my girlfriend. 2 months later, she left for her internship, and we entered a long-distance relationship. This is where the problems began. While in Europe, she went out approximately 4 times with fellow students, attending clubs 3 out of those 4 times. I was uncomfortable with this, leading to disputes between us. We broke up a few times but always reconciled. There were additional issues. I realized that we disagreed on numerous matters. Moreover, I learned aspects of her past that made me uneasy, though I was able to cope with it. I discovered this because someone had previously informed me before we started dating, but I chose to confront her about it only after she had gone overseas. She confirmed it, and while I did not like it, I could tolerate it. Additionally, I was grappling with my own difficulties, as I faced expulsion from university due to disciplinary issues, which ultimately happened. While she graduated at the end of the year, I was unable to attend her graduation ceremony because I had to return to my home country. We decided to remain together despite the distance, given that our countries are neighboring. Our long-distance relationship has continued to this day. Upon her return to her city, both of us experienced a challenging period. I was depressed due to my expulsion, while she struggled, feeling lost about her future. This occurred in 2023. I enrolled in a university back home, and during this year, we frequently argued over her actions, which I disapproved of, while she insisted they were not wrong. I did not terminate the relationship because I was deeply in love with her and feared losing her, in part due to our shared experiences, and because the idea of her with someone else made me feel physically ill. Although we quarreled often, we worked on our issues, and she ceased behaviors that I found objectionable. At the start of 2023, I suggested we set aside one evening each week solely for us a day to either watch a movie together virtually or have a drink through video call. This evening was to be Saturday every week, and no other commitments would interfere with our time, except for family obligations or special occasions. That year, I seldom went out because I was feeling low. Fast forward to 2024, and she began a new major at a different university in another country, also near mine but on the opposite side. I learned something uncomfortable about her past, which she revealed to me, but I chose not to mention it as I didn't want to upset her. She pursued this new major, her childhood dream, as her mother had previously prohibited her from studying abroad. She decided to attend that country since I planned to obtain my MBA there at a prestigious business school regarded as the best in the region, a goal I envisioned since finishing high school. However, she started her program in 2024, while I will probably begin my MBA in 2026, so we are looking at 2 additional years of long distance. We frequently fought, particularly because I felt she prioritized her new friends over me. On 2 separate occasions where we had plans, not on Saturday, she canceled to be with her friends. At the beginning of the year, we broke up both times but reconciled because of my love for her. The reality was that her friends typically gathered on weekdays, leaving her alone on weekends. As time passed, I began to socialize more. I didn't go to clubs or party. Instead, I started visiting a bar located in a country club on Fridays, as I am a member through my father, and it is where most people I know go out. I chose to frequent that venue to socialize with familiar faces, but also because these connections may prove valuable for my professional networking. She noticed this change and expressed discontent, claiming that I was neglecting her by merely going out to drink. However, it's important to note that I wasn't going out on Saturdays. My outings occurred on Fridays. Additionally, during this period, international soccer tournaments were taking place, prompting me to watch games with friends during the week. She perceived my actions as a lack of attention. I reassured her that we still had our dedicated day, Saturdays, but she argued that I was implying she was only entitled to my attention one evening a week, asserting that I hadn't spent an entire weekend with her for a long time. I found it absurd since I was the one who proposed having that dedicated time together in the first place, prioritizing our plans. Furthermore, I believe that having at least one evening a week for personal pursuits or friendships is entirely acceptable. She contended that I had changed. In 2023, I barely socialized, while now, I went out almost every Friday. Some individuals have suggested that my discomfort stems from an attempt to change her and my reluctance to accept her social life. However, I never told her not to go out. I simply mentioned that I was uncomfortable with clubbing. I welcomed her outings to casual bars with friends, mirroring my own activities. I explained my reasons for frequenting that specific venue, but she labeled me as a selfish person trying to exploit others for my benefit. I find it frustrating that she does not understand how adulthood functions. Establishing professional connections and relationships is part of life, and everyone in my circle approaches socializing with similar intentions. This does not negate the existence of genuine friendships. They certainly exist, but there are also mutually beneficial relationships. The crux of the matter is that I feel constrained about how often I can socialize. I am inherently social. I enjoy gathering with friends and meeting new people. For instance, I love December because many friends visit my country for Christmas, ensuring numerous social events. She does not share this disposition and describes having a limited social battery. This presents one issue. Throughout 2023 and 2024, we broke up and reconciled far too many times to count often splitting up only to reunite the same or following day. Another concern is that I predict difficulties will arise when I pursue my master's degree in the same country where she is studying. My father attended that business school and earned his MBA there. He informs me that half the value derived from the school stems from the education, while the other half comes from the connections and friendships built with students from various countries. He asserts that his career success partly results from the networks he established during his time there. These friendships and connections are generally forged outside the classroom, socializing with peers, as the school exclusively offers master's degrees. All attendees possess undergraduate degrees, meaning they are adults and can freely consume alcohol on campus. The challenge lies in my girlfriend's expectation that my life will revolve around my coursework and her, anticipating that I should visit her every weekend, whether she comes to my location or I travel to hers. My father advised me that prioritizing weekends with her would result in missing significant opportunities presented by this school. I am committed to securing a successful future and will do what is necessary to achieve that. Another issue revolves around fitness. Since returning to my country, my attendance at the gym has fluctuated due to shoulder and knee injuries. I am working on managing those issues, and I committed this year to being disciplined about my fitness routine. I aim to eat healthily to build muscle and lose fat, and I also recognize the importance of adequate sleep. She is visiting next week for a week, and I am aware that, when I communicate my intention to continue going to the gym, she will disapprove, claiming we won't have ample time together since it is only a week and I also work. I am currently interning. My plan is to go to the gym in the mornings before work, so that I can have the afternoons free to spend with her. This means I will have to wake up at 5 a.m., so I need to ensure I go to bed early enough to get at least 6 hours of sleep. I anticipate she will not appreciate this and will argue that I am prioritizing sleep over our time together. I wish to fully commit to my goal, and I find it unfair for her to suggest that my commitment conflicts with our relationship when it does not have to. Moreover, she claims I am not romantic enough. She indicates that I communicate with her in a manner that resembles a friendship rather than a romantic partnership. She desires affectionate greetings, frequent romantic sentiments, and endearing nicknames. I am not inherently that way. It has never been my style. I feel as though she expects us to embody the idealization found in romantic films. Recently, we have engaged in considerable arguments regarding this matter. She asserts that she deserves a partner who treats her like a princess, contending that I fail to fulfill that role. An additional issue is our differing religious beliefs. We are both Christians, but I am Catholic, while she identifies as evangelical. My family is predominantly Catholic, and on both sides, everyone practices this faith. Although I do not fully align with Catholic teachings, being agnostic, I hold onto the traditions associated with it. However, she converted to evangelicalism in her late teenage years, disagreeing with several tenets of Catholicism. When discussing marriage, she expressed a desire to have a pastor officiate the ceremony instead of a Catholic priest, while I have a preference to wed under Catholic traditions. She argues that it is unjust because I do not believe in God, yet she does. I explain that to me, this is more about tradition than faith, as I wish to marry in accordance with the faith upheld by my family and instill those values in our future children. If her primary concern is a Christian ceremony, I see no issue with having a Catholic wedding, as it is ultimately a Christian denomination. In my view, this is not a matter of faith, but rather tradition tied to a specific religion, making it non-negotiable. I have come to realize that in previous years, 2022, 2023, and early 2024, I could not envision a life without her. Even when her actions instigated feelings of betrayal, I felt incapable of letting her go. Now, however, when we break up, I do not endure the same anguish. It does not feel as though my world is collapsing. I find that when we have split and subsequently reunited within a day or so, I experience peaceful nights without her presence. I enjoy my evenings watching YouTube and shows, a stark contrast to the intense distress I previously felt during our breakups. I cherish the tranquility during the nights we refrain from communication because she is studying with friends or alone. I find solace in my solitude. There are 2 reasons I have not ended things myself or definitively stated that I do not wish to reconcile after a breakup. Firstly, I want to spare her feelings, as I know she would perceive it as a reflection of her inadequacy. If I were to break up with her, she would likely cry profusely, prompting a slew of messages or calls within hours, questioning whether this is my true desire. If I affirmed it, she would become devastated and feel as though she was not enough for me. I understand how painful it is to be rejected by someone you have invested so much time into. It is heart-wrenching, and the sensation is akin to your world crumbling. The notion that someone who once provided a sense of security suddenly wishes to discard you is an unbearable feeling. I love my girlfriend and do not wish for her to endure this pain, yet I acknowledge our multitude of problems and fundamental disagreements. Furthermore, she does not embody the qualities I envision for a future wife, both due to the knowledge of her past and her behavior within our relationship. I also harbor resentment towards her for various actions she has taken. The second reason stems from the nostalgia of our shared experiences. I often feel a strong inclination to be with her, convinced she is my soulmate. For instance, my dog, who was by my side for 12 years, passed away in 2023. She offered unwavering support during that difficult time and continues to do so, which still weighs heavily on my heart. She, like me, is an animal lover. Last year, when I visited her hometown, we bought a large bag of dog food and drove around the city to provide meals for homeless dogs. We documented this endeavor, and she produced the video, which I recently recalled, bringing me to the verge of tears. The memory of that experience is precious, and I do not want to lose it. If we were to break up, those memories would fade since I could no longer share them with her. They would transform into experiences I underwent with an ex. Additionally, I am hesitant to take any actions that might cause her emotional pain or lead her to break up with me because I wish to avoid hurting her. I genuinely wish she would find a reason to justify breaking up with me, relieving me of that burden, or that she would simply lose her feelings for me and conclude that parting ways is best for both of us. I also want to clarify that this message may portray her in an unfavorable light while casting me as a victim, but that is not the complete picture. In my view, she has faltered as a girlfriend by occasionally disregarding my boundaries, believing she was not doing anything wrong. However, she has also been an exceptional girlfriend in making me feel valued. Her thoughtful and meaningful gifts have always touched me. The monetary value is inconsequential. For instance, after my dog passed, she commissioned a painting of a photograph depicting me with my dog from the day I adopted him at 12 years old, portraying him with a halo above his head. She had it framed for my nightstand. That gesture represented the most significant gift anyone had ever given me. I also acknowledge my faults. I have made mistakes that have hurt her deeply, though neither of us has cheated, and our relationship has faced challenges as a result. I recognize that I am not without my flaws. I possess numerous standards that might be seen as unorthodox in many relationships, which have led to most of our conflicts over the first 2 years. I am conflicted. I am uncertain about what I should do moving forward. Story 2. From gaming friends to a complex relationship, I navigated love, loss, and betrayal only to find myself in a tangled mess and heartbroken. I, 29F, and my ex-boyfriend, 25M, had officially been in a relationship since May 2023. However, we celebrated our anniversary in October 2021, the month we first met. We were close friends until December 2022, when our relationship began to develop further. We connected through gaming, despite being states apart. From January 2023 to April 2024, we were nearly always together on Discord, either on a call or engaged in conversation. In May 2023, I discovered that he identified as polyamorous and had been engaging in a sexual relationship with a coworker without my knowledge. I chose to forgive him, as I thought we were committed, though he did not perceive it that way yet. This eventually led to his visit in June of that year, for which I paid half the travel cost. Things seemed smooth between us. We enjoyed each other's company and officially confirmed our relationship status. However, in July, one of his colleagues died by suicide. I couldn't afford to visit him at that time, but I supported him as much as I could. I made myself available 24/7, sent him meals through delivery services, and lent a sympathetic ear. I visited him in August, covering my travel expenses, and once again showered him with attention and tried to spend quality time together. I ended up paying for most activities as he was on bereavement leave for almost a month, and I wanted him to have some normalcy during his grief. Before my visit, I even bought a new mattress and bed frame for his room to ensure we would be comfortable. He previously had a twin bed, and I upgraded it to a queen. In late August, he met another girl, 22F, referred to as OG for this narrative, and claimed they were merely friends. He invited OG over to his place occasionally, and I was uncomfortable with the fact that they would share a bed for sleepovers when there were other sleeping arrangements available. I trusted his claims until one day during a Discord call, I noticed love messages exchanged between him and OG on his phone. Even after confronting him, he insisted they were just friends. In September, he attended an anime convention with OG, as she was one of the vendors. During that weekend, I hardly heard from him except for 2 brief conversations. when I expressed my discomfort, he claimed he was having conversations with me in his mind and thought that was sufficient. I acknowledged this didn't excuse his absence, but I chose to forgive him. Earlier that month, I had visited him again and all felt well. In October, I surprised him with another visit, again covering my ticket, but he went completely silent. I had informed him I would be in an area with limited cell service, though I had coordinated everything with his parents. He was supposed to stay late at work and oversee cleaning, but failed to answer my calls or messages. I later discovered he was at Og's place and offered no explanation for his lack of communication, yet I forgave him. In November, I visited again, buying my own ticket and staying for Thanksgiving. I rented a car at a cost of $1,000 and handled all expenses during my stay. On the first evening, I discovered a note tucked in his jacket from OG, declaring her love for him and implying he had expressed similar feelings first. When confronted about it, he showed no remorse and allowed me to express my anger. Eventually, he begged me to stay when I suggested renting an Airbnb to give us both some space. We managed to work through it, though I remained upset for several days. We didn't see each other in December, but he visited me in January, paying for his ticket. We spent quality time with my family, who greeted him warmly and exchanged gifts with everything feeling normal. Sadly, he lost his long-term job at the end of that month. In February 2024, I went to visit him covering my own ticket, and we celebrated Valentine's Day together. During this trip, I requested to meet OG, as I felt that if we were going to continue our relationship and embrace polyamory, I deserved to know her in person. However, I did not meet her on that visit. Tragically, both of my cats passed away during this time, and when I called him informing him that one was being euthanized, he was at the mall with OG and neglected my emotional distress. By March, I returned to visit him, paying for my own travel again, and we celebrated his brother's birthday. I attempted to extend an olive branch to OG by buying her a drink and asking to informally meet. However, neither of us made any effort to initiate the introduction. He continued to be unemployed, so I took on the financial burden, thrilled to spend time with him because I loved him. During this visit, I took a pregnancy test at his place and discovered I was pregnant. We were both overjoyed. Yet, I still did not meet OG despite my requests. In May, my best friend created a gender reveal box for us to celebrate with his family. Everyone was excited, and it was a significant event for me, especially since I faced challenges as a high-risk pregnant woman. He never made an effort to see me during this time and did not attend a single appointment. I made excuses for his absence, claiming he was trying to get his life in order. Eventually, he secured a job and requested I transfer my phone number to his employee plan, which became relevant later. In June, I experienced a miscarriage at 18 weeks and endured the ordeal alone. He did not offer to come to support me but sent me a gift as a consolation. It did not help, and I was utterly devastated. Unbeknownst to me, I was suffering from severe postpartum depression. On my birthday in July, I contemplated taking my own life in a hotel room away from my home. He was vaguely aware of my plans but made no effort to intervene, even though he took suicidal feelings very seriously. I panicked, brought myself back from the brink, and called him, apologizing for worrying him. He thought I was with family. He responded with, "I hope you know that this means I can't welcome you back with open arms." I fought against becoming just another statistic and felt proud of my choice, but his words made me feel guilty for my decision. I pleaded for his forgiveness and for him to stay with me, and he reluctantly agreed. Late July, we had a confrontation because I was still grappling with postpartum struggles and the weight of his previous comments. He admitted that OG had been on the phone with him almost every day for the past 6 months, meaning she had eavesdropped on all our conversations, both intimate and casual. I felt incredibly violated by this revelation. We decided to take a break until I visited him for his birthday. In August, I spent significant money on a birthday weekend for him. I booked 2 Airbnb rentals, organized meals, and bought a cake. We enjoyed a fantastic celebration, which he stated was the most effort anyone had ever made for his birthday. However, once we returned home, his parents were upset, having been unaware of his 2-day absence, not that he required their permission. Yet they had no qualms about storing the cake I had bought for him. During this visit, I met OG for the first time. He was already in a foul mood, acting distant toward me, and had a meltdown during our conversation. He left the house in a rush, and I followed him on foot, walking nearly 2 miles in an unfamiliar city. He seemed indifferent to my efforts. OG and I had a conversation where I asked many questions, as her knowledge of my life seemed extensive due to her eavesdropping on our calls, though many of my questions went unanswered because she wanted him present to mediate. OG joined us at a movie, and I chose to sit apart, as the atmosphere was uncomfortable. Later, I learned that she recorded our entire conversation and played it back for him. I snooped through his phone while updating my contact picture and saw that he had sent naked photos to OG, but opted not to confront him, as they were from August 2023, and I chose to let it slide. Additionally, in August, I received devastating news. I had an inoperable stage 3 brain tumor. Despite being aware of this, he still offered no comfort. The month of September passed with minimal communication except on weekends, with him spending most of his time with OG. When he lost his job, I helped him cover his car payment and phone bill. October arrived, and he visited me. I paid for the ticket, as we went on vacation with my family to Disneyland, where I funded his park ticket and souvenirs, while my family paid for the hotel and meals. Throughout the trip, he appeared uninterested and disengaged. Disneyland holds special meaning for me, as my prognosis seemed dire. I hoped it would be my last chance for such a vacation, and I wanted to make the most of it. Once he returned home, OG was already at his place. Before his departure in October was the only time I asked him to stay with me. I was anxious since he was unemployed and had no commitments at home. He declined, and by the end of that month, he totaled his car. Since I felt neglected and thought I may have been imposing under the circumstances, I asked if it was all right for me to seek a platonic partner as well. He consented. I started seeing another guy, referred to as AG. We went to the movies a few times, but nothing more. AG sent me sexually explicit texts, never pictures on either end, and instead of shutting it down via text, I went along with it and then redirected him in person. I baked him a side dish for Thanksgiving and cookies for Christmas. Though nothing sexual transpired between us during our interactions, I acknowledge this was my mistake. In January, I mostly stopped communicating with AG after our final movie outing. We planned for my ex to visit, given my life expectancy was reduced due to ineffective radiation and medication. His parents insisted that if he came to see me, he needed a return ticket. I purchased both tickets, and he arrived in February. He still had no job. He and OG acquired a car, which she put in her name for him to use. He ghosted me on Snapchat, and I only learned of the new car after calling him to ask about his location. When I did call, he reacted coldly and expressed that he was at a dealership, getting a vehicle, something I knew would require a co-signer as he had been unemployed since September. I allowed him to use my car for DoorDash and Instacart to earn income. We worked together on weekends, but I was often exhausted from my illness. While he was at my home, he failed to maintain communication. He showed little interest in my appointments, aside from one, and spent most of his time gaming with OG. I conveyed to him how hurtful this was. He was there to help me, yet he saw no issue with it. OG's friends and family disapproved of their relationship and were displeased with him. I mentioned perhaps the distance was beneficial since it mirrored how he treated me and motivated me to make friends. One Thursday, he discovered my deleted messages with AG, which contained explicit content. When I confronted him, he expressed being hurt. I apologized, and he claimed to understand and would not hold it against me. I arranged for overtime at work to assist in covering his upcoming car and phone bills due in early March, working both Saturday and Sunday. On Sunday, shortly before my shift ended, he informed me that his friend in Alabama needed him for a mental health crisis. Though I was glad he was helping, I felt tremendous distress since I was terminally ill with a limited timeline. When I voiced my feelings, he accused me of making him the villain for prioritizing his friend over me. He left the same night after his friend purchased a same-day flight and promised to return. Less than 30 minutes into his flight, he messaged me, stating that I had hurt him too deeply. The interactions between AG and me were too much for him, and he was ending our relationship. That brings us to the present day. 4 days have elapsed since he left, and he has not reached out. My phone is in his name, I planned to transfer it back, but didn't want to leave him with a 900 bill. I still have his plane ticket booked under my name. I have made 2 attempts to contact him, stressing the need for us both to communicate as adults to address everything and ensure he isn't left stranded or stuck with a hefty bill. I believe he is reading my messages, but I am striving to act with maturity, even as I feel as though I am in decline. I acknowledge my mistakes and have apologized for them, understanding it doesn't solve everything, but are my actions unjustified?